Hello, YouTube. We are finally back with another class guide, and we are now doing Champion. We finally did it. It's been a long time coming between getting my friend to help out with it, and then the server transfers happened, and that's been a gong show for many of us, waiting for characters, not being unsure if you could have access to the account or not while that's all going on. But we're here. We're finally here, and we made it. Quick disclaimer. I'm not going to be talking about Blue Line. I've never touched Blue. I've looked up some little bits of guides here and there on wikis and community discords and stuff like that, and it's just I don't have the knowledge for you to give you a good enough information to guide you through Blue Line Champ. It's also not even really that good at level 60 for that level cap, and I don't even think it's going to get that much better, if at all, for Mirkwood when it comes out at the end of April. If you are a Blue Champ and you love Blue Champ, that is totally okay. I have nothing against you. I have so much respect for you. I don't like it. I can quickly... The virtues for Blue are just like most tanks, right? Getting as much tactical mitigation and morale as possible with maybe some incoming healing. There's not even good gear for Blue Line Champ, right? Because they don't have a set bonus dedicated to them. Moria gear is dedicated to yellow. Lothlorian gear is dedicated to red. So you're just using a whole bunch of variety of crafted pieces and random dungeon drops to get as much morale mitigations and crit defense as you can. That's just the way it is. So that's all I'm talking about Blue. Maybe if you're into Blue Line Champ, you can drop by in the comments and talk about Blue, because I would love to hear. I would love to hear people's thoughts, but I know nothing. All right, moving on from that. Part 2 of the disclaimer. You may notice I'm level 71, so I'm clearly not on the legendary servers at this time. As I mentioned with the character transfers, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, so my access to characters is very limited right now. But I thought this was kind of funny because I have not touched this character in years, and when I say years, I mean actual years. Those who have played this game for a long time probably remember the old legendary item system. Those who are new have never seen this before in their life and have no idea what this is. But yeah, I have yet to appraise these legendary items to get me all the ancient scripts. So that's how long it has been since this character has been touched. And he's been touched in the first time since that long, as of the server transfers coming in. I transferred him over, and I now have access to him, and it's the first time I'm playing him in a long time. But yeah, so you can have some fun looking at that. It's a funny system. All right, so talking about virtues going through red line and yellow line, because they're basically going to use the same things. Fidelity, honor, fortitude are 3 good main ones for as much morale as possible. You get a little bit of tactical mit here and there. You got some crit defense, which is just nice as melee, because you might be taking some AoEs here or there. But it's a lot of vitality and a lot of morale. For your next 2 slots, you can do confidence for crit if the crit really matters to you that much. And if it matters to you even more, there's always determination. I know some people are like, well, what about zeal? Because it gives might, and might is an important stat for champion. However, determination, because it has agility and crit rating, mathematically, determination is going to give you more crit rating in the end over zeal. To show this, I have 521 might. So because of that, I have 521 points that are going towards crit rating from my might. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. But if I go over to agility, I have 122 agility, but I'm gaining 244 points to crit rating. So it's a 1-for-2 ratio. So basically, every agility point is giving me 2 crit rating, where might is 1-for-1. So that's why, mathematically, determination is going to give you more crit than zeal will. Confidence still gives you more crit rating then determination early on, but I do think that kind of switches as we level up, I believe. I'd have to double check the math on that. Basically, if you want crit rating, you're looking at confidence or determination, or both. If you need more tactical mitt for higher tiered content, tolerance is always a great option, and you can sacrifice some crit for some tolerance. If you just need more morale because your morale is super low, and right now Moria, you're wanting that 3k, 3.5k morale just for the Watcher and DN. You can always look at loyalty to give you that large boost of vitality, which really helps your morale out. So yeah, those I would definitely have fidelity, honor, and fortitude. If you could switch one of those out for loyalty if you really want. I prefer these three just because they give you extra stuff that is really useful. Loyalty is mostly just used for the vitality. The incoming healing is nice, but it's not super needed on champion. Same with the armor value, but tactical mitigation, really good. Resist rating, there's nothing wrong with that. Critical defense is also good. So that's why I think there's a little bit more use spread out across the virtues for those three, leaving you 2 slots to kind of mess around with what you need. More morale, more mitt, more crit. All right, looking at the trait tree now. So this is the setup that we have for red. Because I'm level 70 again, we have extra points. I'm not going to spend more than 42 points. I'm at 40 right now because this is kind of what your red line setup will look like. Eventually, you're going to spend 2 points to get Battle Frenzy so that you can have the extra fervor. I mean, you can put it in while you're leveling as well. The order doesn't necessarily matter. But you will, at some point, put in the 2 points into Battle Frenzy. So, yeah, extra fervor, which is really nice. Then, at that point, you're going to have 2 remaining points. So, you have some bit of wiggle room here. If you want more sprint for whatever reason, for leveling, you could lower the cooldown there. Going into Mirkwood, maybe you want it there. Again, for a leveling thing, niche scenarios in dungeons and raids, you could put some points here into Killing Spree to give you health every time you kill something, right? So that's kind of nice. A lot of people just end up spending the 2 points here for more vitality, because again, there's nothing wrong with more vitality, and there's free parry, so you could also do that. If hamstring it's only worth it for the 5 points for the knockdown. You could kite wraiths with it, but again, it's not super needed. Merciful Minded is just not a good skill. Merciful Strike is not a good skill at this level range. So this is purely just a waste. Ebbing Ire, I honestly don't even know why this skill is still in the game. The fact that it costs fervor is ridiculous. This is a waste of a point. You will never need this ever. So the only other real options we have is blade skill damage, right? So all blade skills, when it says blade skill damage, anything with the word blade in it, that is what this trait buffs. So blade wall, in yellow line you get raging blades. You get fury of blades, blade storm. So there's all these blade skills. That's what this buffs up. Eventually, as we go through further expansions and higher level caps, you will make your way down through yellow as a red line champ, just to give you more AoE options. Because there's nothing wrong with that. We'll go into blue a little bit, right? Blade wall applying some weird debuffs. You're getting more vitality if you and some other weird niche things, horn damage. Like, you could get that later on if you really want, but that's way in the future. So we're mostly going to be going down into yellow as the expansions go on. But because we were talking about blade skills, we'll just do a quick little talk about strike skills, right? So blade skills affect everything with the word blade. Strike skills affect everything with the word strike. So, feral strike, brutal strikes, remorseless strike, ferocious strikes, merciless strike. I think that's technically. Oh, actually, I think swift strike counts. Swift strike counts. Devastating strike. That might be it. I might also be missing a couple skills off the skill bar, but yeah. So strike skills are mostly your single target strike abilities, anything with the word strike. Blade skill is the AoE side, and it's everything with the word blade in it. So just to finish off this red trait line, we'll just say I'll put the points into vitality because maybe I want vitality, but if you want the 2% blade damage for specifically blade wall, go for it. It's not the end of the world. So I'll just hit apply, and that's what our trait tree looks like. For yellow, now in most situations you're going to be red. Yellow line just outperforms red in like 90% of scenarios right now at this level cap. There's just not enough AoE targets to make it really useful. There's a couple of scenarios, but I mean, there's so many dungeons where you can't AoE, and you can't kill certain enemies. You don't want to put dots on too many things because of reflex and all this other stuff. So that's why yellow just isn't as good as red. But this would be kind of a leveling or a dungeon-esque type build right now that you would look at. So we're only at 32 points, which allows us to spend 10 more points in other places. And this is where you kind of have like some decisions to make. If it's a scenario where there's just a lot of AoE happening, right? You can increase the number of targets and then put more points into Raging Blades. If you wanted to do that. Brutal Strikes is an okay option because it just helps with single target damage when there's no more AoE that's required. And it helps with leveling as well, right? You know, you're playing in yellow while you're leveling because you just want to do mass pulls, and then all of a sudden you have a signature or an elite that appears, or you have a wraith. Now you have Brutal Strikes to help with that. Still works in raid nicely. You're doing, or dungeons, right? You're AoEing the dungeon down, but now you're just in a one-on-one boss fight scenario. Brutal Strikes. You could also put some more points into crit, and you can get this up to 4. Now we're at 42. Right? You could maybe take some points out of here for the crit and put some into wild attack damage to again help out your single target damage if you wanted. If you didn't care about this stuff, then yeah, that's why you have two more points into broad sweep for more AoE if the fight requires it. You have another point in to improve Raging Blades damage. You could help out your horn damage if you really wanted. Now we have 4 points, so we can put 2 into Brutal Strike and then 2 more into Wild Swings, or we could do more crit, right? So you have little options. The other thing that I wanted to show you quickly, though, is kind of a fun little leveling build, which I believe is based off of, yeah, so you start in red, and you're gonna go into red for, as you normally would, basically for the most part. You'll get deep strikes, attack duration, and your strike skill stuff, and then you kind of just stop here after you get ferocious and controlled burn. And then you're going to kind of put the rest of the points into yellow. Right, so this is kind of somehow like a leveling type build would work. We're reducing our points here. We're not getting the stuff at the bottom just yet. It gives you more AoE options. It's not that big of a change, right? You might as well just be full red. You could just be full yellow. It's a bit of a more hybrid type thing. But it's just to give you ideas to think about as you're leveling. It's slightly more AoE damage, a little less single target damage, right? But it's not a big change. I wanted to mention it. My friend brought it up, so I thought I'd just mention it in case you are looking for something a little bit more leveling heavy instead of raid or dungeon focused. But yeah, so that's kind of the trait setup. Now let's go into gear. Starting with jewelry, you're going to want the earring and the ring of Karis Galadhon, as it gives us the 15% melee damage. So that's one earring slot, that's one ring slot. The other ring you'll want is the Aurate glowing hoop of precision, because that just gives us the max amount of crit in our other earring slot. The neck is the fancy neck that comes from the Halls of Crafting, which gives you the melee damage increase. Bracelets, you could do the crafted bracelets. There's a couple of like crit heavy bracelets from some dungeons, I believe. If you need more morale, you could do the skirmish bracelets. Those work just as fine. But I do believe it's mostly just the crafted stuff for bracelets that are going to be your best option, aside from some like super rare like drops from the raids, like the DN raid or the Watcher raid. The pocket item will be the copper sphere, and your final ring slot will be either the ring from Dark Delvings, which is just heavy morale with some crit. The petrified goat droppings from the quest line at Orkwatch, that's also a really good pocket item until you get the copper sphere from Scumfell. Or you can just do another crafted ring if you can't get the Dark Delving one. But yeah, so that's jewelry. Cloak would be... I think it's the officer's cloak. I don't even think I can... Probably can't check it on the server, and I don't even have the... Yeah, I don't. I think it's the hooded officer's cloak. I wonder if... moving into armor... This set is pretty much the... Well, one, it's the best set for red. And then you can do 4 of these and then 2 Moria pieces if you wish for the extra. I think that gives might. So you could do 4 and 2. You could do crafted pieces. There's some armor pieces that also have the same effect as the turtle bracelets. They're just slightly different. I think there's a helmet and then one other piece. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, I know there's a helmet that does it. And it's really good. You could have that as one piece, and then the other piece for it, or you could have a crafted like pair of gloves or something like that, and then the other 4 pieces, the DN set here. The Moria set is more geared towards yellow slightly. However, one thing to consider with this set is this is still okay in yellow. It's not bad. So you're going to have brutal strikes in yellow, so you're not missing out on that buff. And the base damage from Fervor is still just as good. And you're going to have Wild Attack anyways to help build Fervor. So it's not bad by any means. You can still use it in yellow. The only difference with the Moria set is it specifically buffs Fury of Blades, and it gives you and Battle Frenzy has a lower cooldown, I think it is. So that that helps more with yellow, but you could use DN set in yellow and it be just as fine. Red though is the go-to spec right now at this level cap. It's just better. Can I not go to Rivendell from here at this? Okay, that's fine. We'll do it this way. But yeah, red, as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure Redline Champ is the highest DPS class, aside from maybe Bear or Mariner, but I'm at this level cap. Later level cap that changes, but at level 60, I'm pretty sure Redline is the go-to spec. It's the highest DPS spec currently at this level cap. Dual wielding versus two-handed. Right now at this level cap, dual wielding is better for red, mostly because of the weapon masters trait, where while dual wielding you do 5% damage, and I'm pretty sure this just stays consistent throughout the level caps because 5% damage is just really, really good. The critical damage is great, and you will see a lot of high numbers, but the toss-up, right, is dual wielding, you're attacking with two weapons, and basically each weapon is doing 5% more damage. Because I'm not dual wielding on this character, you can't. Do I have a random weapon in my inventory right now? No, I don't. Okay, so I can't really show it. But all of your skills that attack once or use your main weapon, Remorseless Strikes will technically do 2 attacks. Swift Strike might still be 1, but Wild Attack also does 2 attacks. It uses your main hand and your offhand. So that's where the 5% damage comes in handy, because it's just 5% on everything that you do across the board on both weapons attacking multiple times kind of thing. So that's why it's better. In yellow line, people do say that two-handed is better. We don't get this trait in yellow. We do later on, but at this level cap we don't. And that's why they say that two-handed is still probably better. And I see that argument. However, I also still kind of argue that dual wielding is still kind of better in yellow. You're not going to get as high numbers, but it's more stats right now. At this level cap, the extra stats that you get from an offhand weapon, whether it's crafted or a rare drop, is just, I think, puts it over the edge slightly. Maybe from a pure damage standpoint, with Fury of Blades just being 2 massive attacks with a two-handed weapon does do more, and I could see that. So that's why I think the general consensus is just dual or two-handed for yellow, dual wielding for red. But there's nothing wrong with just going dual wielding for both right now. Later on, when you have a whole bunch of ancient scripts and you're looking at, which one I have so much, I don't want to hit cap. Okay, fine. I can make I can make a two-handed weapon now for my off spec, so to speak. But early on, it's totally like overwhelming. Like, oh, I don't have enough scripts right now. Maybe I want to make other characters. So starting with two-handed starting with dual wielding is fine. Start there. It's the best one for red, and it's not going to harm you a whole lot in yellow. So you can start there, and then when you have all the extra scripts and you're able to make 2 different weapons, then you can go to a two-handed for yellow. But to start, dual wielding I think is the safe way to go, and you can use that as you level, and then as more level caps come out, you can slowly get your two-handed weapon. But start with the dual wielding. That's the better way to go and the safer way to go, and it's easier in the long run, I think. Yeah, so now that we've been talking about the ancient scripts, let's move on to the legendary items. So let's talk about the traceries that we're going to use. So for the traceries, let me just bring up my little spreadsheet here. All right, so to start with the class legacies, you are going to be using Wild Attack, which should be a... Oh, it's not a general one. Okay. General damage, probably. No? Is it purely Berserker, then? Where's Wild Attack? Am I dumb? Did I miss it? It should just be general. Blade Wall. Oh, there's a second page. I'm dumb. There we go. Yes. So you can use Wild Attack. And then you're going to use Brutal Strikes. Brutal Strikes damage. You're then going to use Remorseless Strikes damage. And then you're also going to be doing Ferocious Strikes damage and cooldown, which is really massive. Actually, that might even remove... It doesn't remove the cooldown completely, but it definitely cuts it in almost in half. So that's why it's just a must-have to use. And then... no, that's the 4. Yeah, Brutal Strikes, Remorseless, Ferocious Strikes, and Wild Attack. For Yellow Line... you're kind of going to use... You're going to do more of the AoE things. Fury of Blades, Raging Blades, Rend Bleed is really good. And you can also reduce Battle Frenzy if you wanted. You could still keep the Wild Attack one in the general damage if you wanted. Right, you could still have Wild Attack. You could use Swift Strike. That one's good later as well. But again, mostly everyone's using red, so that's why I wanted to talk about the red ones mostly. For your power, Word of Power traceries, you're doing the single... You're just going to be doing the single target damage ones. And, right, single target damage, single target crit. And for yellow, you could do the area effect ones if you wanted, but right now single target ones are just better. And then heraldry traceries, you're going to use the Ox, because you can use the Ox for more vitality. There is the Lion, but it's just you're giving yourself more might over vitality. I think the vitality one is better. But you could use Sparrow again if you wanted crit, right? Because agility will always give you more crit. The Sparrow is more crit than Ox. So if you really want the crit, you could do that. It's the same vitality. It's just, do you want the might for other things, or do you purely just want the crit? So Ox or Sparrow. And then... Once again, you're just using the Heroic Precision, as for most classes, for extra crit rating for your Word of Craft traceries. And those are the same for yellow as well. Those won't change, crit and Ox and Sparrow. Yeah, and that, I believe, concludes this class guide. This will be the last class guide I do before Mirkwood. When Mirkwood comes out, I will do a kind of a redo of this video, new level cap, and I'll do it on the actual correct character once they're at that level, instead of using a character that I haven't played that's over the level cap. And yes, it has these fun little legendary items that I've not touched in literal years. I can't even imagine how long it's been. But yeah, well, so that'll be the last class guide we do, I think, before Mirkwood. The rest of them will come out with Mirkwood. If there's any other videos though that you do want with before Mirkwood comes out, if there's any other generic tip guides you want, you have questions about things, you're like, you know what, I've had questions about this specific thing for the legendary servers or about the game in general, can you please do a guide on this thing? Then yeah, I'll look into it and make a guide for you guys. Because yeah, the support that I've gotten has been amazing. I'm really close to the 500 subscriber mark, and that feels really good. So we're almost there. So I do thank you for the support. Continue subscribing, continue liking, leaving your comments, engaging with the video. It truly means a lot. And yeah, I'm just really thankful that the support over this new year has been amazing. 2025 has been a good year. So I thank you all for that. It truly means a lot. So yeah, that concludes the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.